Welcome to episode 40 of Let's Talk Money with Wendy Silibi. My guest this morning is Siphiwe Moyo, and I think we're going to have an amazing conversation. Maybe let's just ask the question, have you ever wondered what it's like to leave a secure job to pursue your passion? Well, that's what we are going to be talking about, the mindset shift that is required to manage your finances. So welcome, Siphiwe.
Thank you so much, Mawens. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Siphiwe is an author of more than 4 books. If you look around, I've got his books all over the place. And just to give a brief background of who Siphiwe is, he's a global. I have to pause and say global conference speaker. He's an organizational behavior specialist, and his latest book, I've got it here, Building Better Workspaces. Welcome, Siphiwe, again to my podcast. And to be quite honest, it's such a pleasure to have you. You know, you and I come a long way. And, the pause here, global, is really for me so important, because I believe once, when you were going out to start on your own, I did speak about how you would become international.
You were the first person to call me.
Yeah, the global has happened.
Absolutely.
And every time I see you speaking in Switzerland or wherever, I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Well, let's dive right into it. So what motivated you to leave corporate? I mean, you and I worked at the same organization. You were an L&D specialist, then you went to group, and then boom, Siphiwe is leaving. So what motivated you
I was pulled by passion and vision, Mawens, to be honest. I was really seized by a mission and a passion. I really wanted to go out there and follow my passion of speaking and training. And so this thing had been a passion and a dream of mine for many years. In fact, 2007, I had tried to leave corporate and go pursue it, and entrepreneurship clapped me so hard, went back to work and so on. So it had been a really passion of mine, and for me, it was very clear that there wasn't too much pushing me out of corporate, but I was really being pulled by a passion and a vision that I wanted to pursue.
And I mean, I think for me, when you talk about vision and passion and purpose, those resonate so much with me, because, we are always where we fellowship, we are taught about vision, about how it's a picture of a preferred future, a future that you want to have, that you envisage,
Yes.
you acknowledge that mara, I know that I can get there.
Yes.
And interesting fact, I didn't know that in 2007, you had actually started, gone out on your own, and then came back. So maybe the next question to ask is, I mean, now that you look at what you did in 2007 and when you left the bank finally, because now you are still at it, what are some of the learnings that you picked up from the first and now?
Yeah, that is so important. And I think piggybacking on the conversation around vision, we are taught this all the time. And vision is loud in your heart, man. Vision just makes you want to jump now, because it transcends your current reality. So before I left 2007, I started seeing myself running training businesses and so on. And therefore, I just jumped because of the passion. I just said, I'm talented, I'm leaving now, let's go to this entrepreneurship thing. I had not planned anything at all. And so when I finally leave after the bank, so first of all, when I go back to work around 2008, I then had a proper exit plan. So I remember having a document written, exit plan 2010. I thought I was going to leave in 2010. I ended up leaving in 2013. But in that exit plan, there were a few things that were important. For me, one of the things that made me go back to work quickly was that I had no savings. And so that was very important for me to have savings. It was important for me to get rid of debt. I wanted to get rid of debt because it's impossible to give your business a breathing space if you have debt. I wanted to make sure that I downgrade my corporate lifestyle. Because the mistake I made in 2007, I just wanted to live the same way as if I still had stability. But beyond the finance element, my exit plan also had join a professional association of people who do what I do, so that I network and build relationships, look for clients when you are still in the business. I remember there was this beautiful quote that you actually must never leave your job to start a business. You must leave your job to run your business. So the business should have been started. Now you are running it. And the second time around, I did that. I declared at the bank that I've started a business, and it was fine. But although there were not too many, gigs or speaking invitations or whatever, but the momentum was that building. So by the time I left the second time, I was leaving to run something, not to start something.
You've said so much, ne? And I have what they call monkey mind. I'm gonna try and remember and ask you all the questions from what you've just said.
Sure.
Number one, I mean, Spiro, it all looks good on paper. And I tell people, like you say, when you leave, you must not leave to go and start something, rather leave to go and run something. And isn't it that too many people that go into businesses, that's what they do, they have that exit plan or that business plan, and vision. In your mind, you see it, you already see it fulfilled, but when you go out there, it's difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been thinking around that as well, even for people who retire. A lot of people say, no, I've got a plan. When I retire, I'm going to take my pension money. I'm going to start a business. I'm like, you can't do that because your pension money is actually your lifelong, what must keep you going, And if you are that kind of person who's disposed to living a longer life, I mean, yesterday my aunt passed away. She was 97.
Sure.
So we live long. So you can't just take your pension money and play with it. But the second thing that you said that's very important is that when you left the first time, which is a lesson, is that don't leave with debt.
Yes.
Because I think many of us do that, make that mistake and live with debt.
Yes.
Maybe just to piggyback on that now is to say, now that, when you left the second time, what were some of the mindset changes regarding money that you now had to create as you to think about as you are now going to have to create your own paycheck?
Yeah. So for me, Mawens, the main thing was to remain calm in the inside. I think when I left the second time, because I had tried this thing and I realized it's not as glamorous as it looks, right? And so this idea of entrepreneurship, particularly the things that we do and speaking and whatever, the stages, you always look like you're making it and so on. And
I like that because a lot of people see me on stages speaking and they think, hey,
there's something about this industry that makes you look very, very glamorous. So because of that, I had resolved my internal issues of I'm not going to try and signal premature display of wealth that I actually don't have, right? And because of that, I was so chilled. Of course, you'll always try to look clean and good, but I was not going to try and put myself under pressure by signaling that I am premium this and premium that. The mindset was, I am going to build. And I think one of the mistakes that we really, really make is that sometimes we don't even give our businesses a chance to settle because we want to be always displaying this signaling of success and pretending that we are successful. And I think that is killing us. So the mindset was very clear this time around that I am going to build, and building is messy. Building takes time. anyone who has ever built a project, whether extending a house or renovating a house, you know it's going to take you longer than you thought. It's going to cost you more than you thought. You're going to go out of budget. It's going to be messy. And so that mindset of building made me calm down so that I really don't have to put myself under pressure.
Sure, I like that. Eh? And I think in most of my talks, I like talking about, building. When I talk to the younger professionals or younger generation, I always say to them, when you build, you have to be patient. I mean, even when you build, like you say, how builder, they will dig those trenches, right? And they will leave them for a while before they come, they pour the concrete, they leave it to set for a while. And then when they come back to fill up, those trenches that they've built, they'll use all types of material. And when you're looking at it, you're thinking, because they'll put grass, they'll put steel, they'll put rocks and sand and all kinds of things. And that's the process of building. It doesn't look glamorous. And isn't it that maybe most of us, we make that mistake of trying to be too glamorous while we are still building.
Yeah.
It means that you have to live within or even below, your means, in order for you to be able to succeed. A lot of people, I want to bring it home, because a lot of people say to me, how? When you left work, we thought you'll buy a flashy car. And no, you know what? I'm in that age and my mindset has shifted completely, where I understand that retirement can also be messy. It can also be like this building, because you see these numbers that they say you have, and they can get you excited, and then you start buying a new car, you demolish your house, you build a double story, and in 3-4 years you can't even go up the stairs, those kind of things. And then you change your wife, you change your husband, you change your phone, because there's just this you can be tempted to act the way that you are talking about. And I think that is so critical for somebody that's listening to us to say, calm down, Paula, chill, and you will eventually get there. So what fears did you have when you left about financial security during your transition period? And what are some of the things that you did, to allay those fears? Because obviously fear is the opposite of faith. Yeah.
I mean, the fears were real, because I mean, the first time I left, they almost repossessed our house because I had not planned properly, and I'm gonna say this now. I didn't even tell my wife I was not paying the bond. Male ego again. So by the time I go back to work in the previous time, I'm scared of this fact that they almost took our house. Our car was repossessed in that first exit. So my fears then in the next exit is, hey, I hope the same things do not happen, right? I fear the fact that my business is not going to do well. I fear the fact that I'm going to be ruined financially again. Our security at home was going to be jeopardized again. But because I had done this thing before, now I managed to plan better for it. So, for example, our business is very cyclical, very, very cyclical. The conferencing industry, we know, for example, that December you have no conferences, January you have no conferences, February you will have a few conferences, April there is nothing because of the holidays. So you already know that before you start, and hence researching before I had left, joining the professional association before I had left helped me. Because by the time I landed, I understood how cyclical this business is, so that when you get a check in November, you know that thing must cover your December, it must cover your January, it must cover your February, so you remain calm. And for me, that was the main thing, to say, if you can be calm in your good season, you'll know how to ride a bad season, right? Wow. Because that's very, very important. So that cyclicality, I managed to so although there were certain fears, I managed to put some system and to make sure that I don't repeat the things I had done the previous time.
Yeah, sure. I like that. Hey, understanding the industry that you are going
Very
into,
important.
the cycles. You
Yeah.
know, there's some young ladies that do my hair. You know, they started their own business, but it's an Orange Farm.
Oh,
by the
nice.
way, and you know, because you are from Orange Farm, I'm somehow gravitating to the Orange Farmians. So they started their own hair business, and of course, they knew nothing about it. My cousins and I, we have embraced them. We help them with financial management and all kinds of things. And I'm hoping they'll watch because they watch my podcast. And you know, and one of the things that we taught them is that your business is seasonal. Understand that in June, July, from May, June, July, August, people do braids. They don't do this fancy hairstyle. So make sure that in your seasons, when you have a lot of money, you save so that you can, you know, glide through this season, this 4 to 5 months when there's nothing, and you're not stressed, because once you are stressed, you can't think.
You can't think.
You can't do anything. You know.
Yeah.
So I think I like that. And for someone that's listening, that's thinking of starting a business, or already you are in business, I think this is important for you to go back and check whether your business is seasonal and so on. And I think I like the idea of sort of joining professional associations, because then you meet with like-minded people and you are able to learn more. And you do that before you even start, so that when you start, you know exactly what you're getting yourself.
And Mawens, people will tell you the truth in the association. Because an industry like mine, in fact, most businesses, entrepreneurs always want to, they have an external posture and an internal posture. So there's a signaling that, you know, when you look at someone's social media, it looks like they're always making it, they're always great. But the nice thing is, when you join these associations, people tell you the actual truth. That dude, it's not a lie that I was on that stage, but the truth is, I had not been on stage for 3 months when I was on that one. And this is what I did. So when you join an association, people can open up a little bit more than studying people, putting yourself under pressure by looking at Instagram.
Sure, because Instagram will be the end of us. TikTok these days, because you watch these people. And to be quite honest, you know, even as we sit here and engage in Naluena, I didn't know that in your profession now, there are months where it's quiet. Because I always see you busy. I always see you either somewhere else. And also what that actually reminds me is that it means that you don't have to focus on one thing. Because you also lecture, right?
Yes, I teach.
You teach, ne? And different business schools. So that in those seasons, when it's quiet in this side of business, then you have something that to fall back on
absolutely.
as well.
I teach much less than I used to now, but I still teach in business schools. But I can tell you, Mawens, if I did not have that stream of income of teaching, I was never going to survive COVID. So the main thing, when they cancelled all conferences, the business schools switched on very quickly to Zoom, and I was able to teach. And so those streams of income are absolutely critical, because you really can't rely on one thing.
So maybe let's talk about your financial management strategy that you used during this pivot when you moved from permanent to self-employed. What are some of the tips that you can share? You know, maybe talk about what you did, and maybe then give our viewers some tips. What is it that they should be doing, so that, you know, we share wisdom so that they don't fall into our mistakes.
No, that's true. I think the first thing for me that I learned very, very quickly is that you can't outsave bad debt. So
you can't outsave
bad debt. It does not work. So because I had just made a mistake of saving, but if you have debt, then your savings are being eaten up by interest, right? So making sure that I reduce debt aggressively was a big thing for me. And then once I landed into the entrepreneurship world, one of the main things I made sure is is to also automate my savings. So now debt is down, but I know myself because of the archetypes you normally talk about. I have so many people that know I'm a giver, that know exactly my emotional temperature of saving the world and whatever.
Are you a carer?
I am a carer.
Oh.
They know exactly. People know you better than you know yourself. So they would be coming and so one of the things I had to do, automate my savings and make sure I don't even see. So there's this automatic debit order that just goes away. I don't even see it. I don't even regard it as my own now. And then so that, because for me, even the word boundaries was, emotionally it was tough to say I'll have boundaries against my sister and my cousin. Yo, I'm becoming a bad human being, So I had to do something that is easier for me, just to put money away. Eventually I was doing better, and then I had a financial planner sit me down and be able to do some of those things. So the main thing was always try your best to live within your means. One of my favorite things, and we talked about this when we're still in corporate and we're doing those financial education, is to say, when you get an increase in your salary, do not allow your expenses to increase immediately. So managing to calm down and not upgrade my car in 6-7 years was a big win for me, because then once I paid that off, I managed to put that on savings, and so on. So it's really, most of it is about emotional temperature, is about understanding your own triggers and what triggers you, and then put systems based on who you are that will safeguard you and make this saving thing the least of your worries. Now I don't think about my savings, because that thing happens automatically for me, and I think that has helped me to withstand some of the toughest times in my career. Because even now tough times do come, but you'll never see it, because now I'm the same when I'm thriving and when I'm not thriving. I just remain calm. So there is no hectic upgrade when I had a big check. There's no hectic downgrade when I had when I have a really, really bad time. I'm just here and calm. And I think if you can manage to remain like that, you will never put yourself under pressure, and you'll have a sustainable business, which is what is important, to have a sustainable business. Because I think many of us actually have to make up our mind whether we want to build a sustainable business or we want people to think we're successful.
Yeah, sure. You've said a mouthful. I mean, you've touched on those money personalities, money archetypes, knowing yourself, because that can also sabotage you.
Sure.
If you're one of these, flamboyant money archetypes, I mean, when you have a big check, it's very difficult to be calm.
Yes.
But if you know who you are, and you understand yourself, and you understand what motivates you, the emotions that drive you, when you are using your money, you are able then to do, to do much better. And I think I like the behavioral stuff around, the behavioral economists, they talk around how we must automate and make sure that you forget, and that's the power of automating. You forget, like you are saying, and then even when you become a carer, because we don't stop becoming carers,
not at all.
But as carers, then we can put things in place to protect us, to protect our wealth. You also said something very important, that a lot of people, there's a myth out there that you only see a financial planner if you have lots of money.
Yes.
I mean, even in the bank, we had to demystify that. I remember when we were telling people, no, see a financial planner, but no, that's not for us. It's for people in private wealth. I'm thinking, everybody must see a financial planner so that they can help you and guide you, to make the right decision. I don't think it's in my book, but I always share these stories. just before I went on retirement. I think 5, 6, 7 years, no, 10 years before. Yeah, it's in my book that, my aunt asked me if I had enough saved up. And of course, I engaged our pension company at the time.
I remember that story.
Yeah, and when they sent me that thing, silly red, I was depressed for a month. I mean, I was losing weight. You're thinking, my Lord, when I go on retirement, it means I must downgrade and all of that. And when I sat with a financial planner, I mean, my saving grace was the financial planner that I sat with. And then he said, "Hi, man, why do you look so miserable?" I said, "Hey, I'm in trouble financially." He said, "No, you're not." Took out his laptop, did the numbers. He said, "No, you're fine. If you want to accelerate, you've got 10 years to do it. Let's do this and let's do that." And I mean, when I stood up from that meeting, the first thing I did was to go and eat. Because that's how stressed I was. So I just want to say to those that are watching us, I mean, there's power in engaging a financial planner. And if you know that you're going to transition and leave work, pay off your debts. There's nothing as sad as not being, today I think it's the 28th. And I mean, if you are in debt and you have insufficient money, you have sleepless nights because the first is around the corner. The debit orders must come out and all kinds of things. And Spiwa, I must tell you that, I was inspired to invest in a different class of financial instruments by you. You referred me to a friend of yours who had offices somewhere, Mosentin. Hey, you even forgot. But that's when because I had always had this fear about unit trusts, about all of that. And when you left, one of the things you told me was that, you were building a portfolio with this guy, I just forgot his name. He had his own asset company thing, Gosentin. And I mean, I invested with that guy.
I think it's
my money. Yes, and my money was growing. I was like, what?
Amazing.
Hey, I didn't know about this. And I was telling everyone that I cared to meet to tell them about this.
Seeing a financial planner can save your life. Because, first of all, the vulnerability that you have with the financial planner, you must just tell them everything. So there is no reason there to play games and pretend. Tell them the entire story. The nice thing about finding one that resonates with you, they also start understanding your own personality. For example, one of the things, and I'm not a financial planner at all, but one of the things that, for example, everyone else was saying is that you must invest in property, buy a property so that you can have people renting and whatever. I just knew my personality. There is no way I'm chasing tenants, Mina. I don't have that personality. When my tap leaks in my own house, I'm stressed because generally that's not how I am. So I was never going to be dealing with that. So I told my financial planner that, dude, the idea of physical property for me doesn't make sense. And therefore, when they were putting together a portfolio, I have exposure even now into the property market through these things called rates or whatever. Without having to own a physical property. So a financial planner is really incredible, and I'm so glad I managed to reach out to them. Even when you have 500 extra in your salary, go and see them. They can make a plan and they can grow with you and so on.
Yeah. No, Spiwa, I think we've shared a lot of nuggets with our viewers, and I mean, thank you so much for just bringing, this flair. When you are starting a small business, remain calm. We cannot stress that enough, And so as we wind down, I mean, are there any last words that you'd like to share with someone that's young, that's starting out, or they're not even young, they're thinking, or no, Lina, I'm leaving, they've got this grand plan, like you had in 2007, and now they are ready to go out, or they're going on retirement, like I'm on retirement, and they're thinking, when I go in retirement, I'm going to open a creche, I'm going to do this and this. I am going to. They have not started. I mean, I just want you to give us your last words.
Yes. One of my favorite models on transition is by a guy called William Bridges, and he says, whenever you're transitioning into a new role, you have to think of three stages. One is called endings. The second, it's neutral zone. The next one is called new beginnings. That you can never really embrace new beginnings until you embrace the fact that something has changed, something has died. And therefore, when you really want to do something and it's pulling you, you have to do it. And there is no doubt in my mind that purpose must be pursued. You will never be happy until you do what you sense in your heart. The transition model and my story, what it helps us with is that you don't have to move from endings to new beginnings directly. There's a transitional zone where you plan your life well, where you have a transition plan, but at some point, you must jump, because I realize that there are dreams that are never going to leave you alone. They are going to haunt you until you make it. But the nice thing is, you really don't have to jump. There is no reason to risk your entire financial status. There is a way you can transition, but okusalayo, you must do what you are sensing in your belly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Piwe. I'm not going to add, because I'll take away the power that you've just said. And for you who are watching, I think this episode is power-packed. So if I were you, I would comment, and I would share it with someone who will benefit from it. And so until next time, thank you so much for watching.